Here we are behind the scenes at RetroBlasting in the toy archive, or the basement as we like to call it. We've been doing a lot of cleaning recently and organizing. Usually in preparation for our videos we have to do a lot of rummaging around trying to find things. Michael has a whole lot of things to choose from, as you can tell by looking around, and finding the thing we're looking for sometimes was taking a whole lot of time to find that one perfect item. And me being as OCD as I am, I just kind of couldn't take that anymore. So we've got this process going on of organization. We thought we'd share it with you. So basically the key is labeling, especially if you have a collection this size. The bins are really useful because number one, they're clear so you can see what's inside of them, and two, they're stackable. So even if you don't have one of these really cool shelving systems, you can just do what we've done in this corner, which you kind of can't see, but we've got them just stacked on top of each other. So you can really get a lot of use out of your space that way. You know, we've got ours stacked to the rafters here. You know, ultimately, when we're finished with the entire room, hopefully we can sort of space this out and not be quite stacked so high. You know, your pieces that are really large, that don't seem to want to fit into a bin, are going to have to go on tops of shelves and things like that. When you've got a lot of small action figures and you're putting them in a bin, whether it's a bin or a shoebox, you want to be sure to put them inside plastic bags. Ziploc bags are fine for this purpose. And the reason is twofold. One, you know, a lot of action figures come with weapons and small pieces. And the other reason is because if you've got a whole lot of figures in the same bin, it's going to keep them from scratching each other up and taking off the paint. So over here we have the Star Wars closet, which is pretty much full of Star Wars. And you know, one of the things that is important to remember if you collect vintage boxes like these is that you don't want to stack them too high, because you don't want their weight to push down on them and collapse them in. So this is a really good option because this is a fairly shallow shelf, so you're not going to fit a lot on there anyway. That's actually true inside of the bins, as I was talking about earlier. You can maximize your space inside of a bin like this, for example, but you know, just because you have a lot of room doesn't necessarily mean that you want to cram a lot of pieces in there, like vintage vehicles or things like that, but they're made out of plastic, because you can, you know, bend the plastic, or, you know, some of the things that you're putting on top of other things can, inside the box, settle and warp that plastic. So you have to be cognizant of light things being on top. So just like some items are too large to fit anything else inside the bin, some items are just too delicate. So this hovercraft can't have anything in the bin with it. Even though the bin is pretty large, you don't want anything in there with it because, I mean, it's really a very fragile vehicle and it took a lot to restore it. So obviously you don't want to risk anything harming it. This room we like to keep at a nice cool temperature, and we have a dehumidifier in the room so that none of these toys are going to be, you know, getting moisture or mold or anything like that, especially the boxes, because they're, you know, they're really old, and here in the South it gets really hot and we are in a basement, so it's something to keep in mind. Well, that wraps up our tour of the RetroBlasting Toy Archive. Believe it or not, we still have more toys coming in, so we'll be progressing and we'll keep you posted. Until then, see you around.